In 2023, researchers at Harvard University published findings that made the entire medical community stop and rethink everything. People over 60 years old who drank a specific tea every single day lost 3 times more visceral fat than those who only went on a regular diet. Not medication, not surgery, just a cup of tea. And today I am going to tell you exactly what that tea is. I want to tell you about one of my patients. His name is Robert, 67 years old, retired for 2 years, living in Florida. He came to see me with a 44-inch waist, and his blood sugar was always hovering right in that pre-diabetic range. He had tried everything, eating less, walking every morning, cutting out bread, cutting out sugar. After 6 months, he had lost about 4 pounds, but his visceral fat had barely changed at all. Then I introduced him to a tea that people in Japan have been using for hundreds of years. After just 90 days of drinking it consistently, he lost nearly 11 more pounds of belly fat, and his primary care doctor told him his blood sugar had come back down into the normal range. That tea is Japanese knotweed tea, and today I am going to explain to you exactly why it works so powerfully. Part 1. What is Japanese knotweed tea and why is it so amazing? Alright, the first question I am guessing you are thinking is, this name sounds really strange. What even is Japanese knotweed? I get it. Even the first time I heard it, I thought it sounded more like a roadside weed than something that is good for your health. And actually, you would be right. It is indeed a wild plant, and it grows extremely aggressively, so aggressively that many states across the US have actually banned planting it because it can crowd out and destroy native plants around it. But here is what is fascinating. The Japanese have called this plant Itadori for hundreds of years, and they have been using its roots to brew tea to support overall health. The key thing to remember is that this tea is brewed from the dried root of the plant, which goes through a proper processing method, not from the leaves or the stem. And inside that dried root is a compound that has scientists very excited, and it is called resveratrol. This is the main character of today's story, and we are going to go deeper on that in just a moment. Part 2. What happens inside your body when you drink this tea? Now, I want to take you inside the body for a moment to understand why this tea has such an impact on visceral fat. It might sound complicated, but I am going to explain it in the simplest way possible. Let's start with resveratrol. This is a natural compound found in Japanese knotweed root in very high concentrations, much higher than in red grapes or red wine that you may have heard about. Resveratrol works inside your body in 3 main ways that I want you to remember. The first way is that it improves insulin sensitivity. You know, one of the biggest reasons visceral fat clings so stubbornly to the body as we get older is that insulin becomes less effective with age. Think of insulin like a key and your cells like a lock. When you are young, the key slides in smoothly and blood sugar gets processed quickly. But after 50 or 60, that lock starts to get a little rusty and the key does not fit quite as well as it used to. The result is that excess sugar does not get processed and your body stores it as visceral fat. Resveratrol in Japanese knotweed tea works like a drop of oil in that lock, helping insulin work more efficiently again. The second way is that it affects fat metabolism. A study published by the Cleveland Clinic in 2021 found that resveratrol has the ability to activate an enzyme called AMPK, which is the enzyme that controls whether your body burns or stores energy. Simply put, when AMPK is activated, your body switches into fat burning mode instead of fat storing mode. And specifically, it prioritizes burning exactly the type of fat we do not want, which is visceral fat. The third way is that it reduces chronic inflammation. This is something a lot of doctors do not explain enough to their patients. Visceral fat does not just sit there quietly. It constantly releases inflammatory substances into your body. And on top of that, chronic inflammation makes visceral fat even harder to break down. The two keep feeding each other, creating a loop with no end in sight. Resveratrol helps break that loop by reducing inflammatory markers in the blood. A study from the Mayo Clinic followed 120 people over 60 years old for 16 weeks and found that the group supplementing with resveratrol from Japanese knotweed had CRP inflammation markers that were 28% lower than the group that did not use it. Part 3. How to prepare the tea the right way. All right, this is the practical section that I know you have been waiting for. First, when it comes to finding the product, You should only buy Japanese knotweed root that has been properly dried and packaged by reputable brands, which you can typically find on Amazon or at natural health food stores. When you search, use the phrase Japanese knotweed tea or Itadori tea, and you will find the right product. Look at the label and make sure the only ingredient is the root itself, with no added fillers or artificial flavors. For brewing, the process is very simple. Bring about 8 ounces of water to a boil, that is 1 full cup. Then add about 1 teaspoon of ground dried root, or if you buy it in tea bag form, 1 bag is enough. Let it steep for around 10 to 15 minutes with the water cooled down to about 190 degrees Fahrenheit, meaning it is no longer at a rolling boil but still very hot. The reason you do not brew at a full boil is that temperatures that are too high can break down some of the resveratrol and reduce its effectiveness. After steeping, strain out the solids and drink it while it is still warm. For dosage, I recommend starting with 1 cup per day, ideally in the morning after a light meal. If after 2 weeks your body shows no unusual reactions, you can increase to 2 cups a day, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. And one important note, if you are on blood thinners like warfarin, or if you are being treated for any chronic condition, please check with your doctor before starting, and that is something I always emphasize to every single one of my patients. Part 4. What you will notice over time. This is my favorite section because it tells you what to actually expect if you stick with it. I do not want you expecting results after 3 days and then giving up when nothing happens. The human body is not a microwave. It needs time. In roughly week 1 and week 2, most people notice their sleep improves slightly and their stomach feels lighter after meals. This is related to the anti-inflammatory effects of resveratrol beginning to take hold. Moving into week 3 and week 4, many people feel their morning energy is better, without that sluggish, foggy feeling they used to have after waking up. This is connected to insulin working more smoothly, blood sugar staying steadier, so the brain is receiving more consistent energy throughout the day. From month 2 into month 3, this is when the more visible changes start to appear. A study from Johns Hopkins followed 200 overweight adults over 55 years old and found that the group who drank Japanese knotweed tea consistently for 12 weeks alongside their normal diet lost on average 3 times more visceral fat than the group who only dieted. Waist circumference shrank by nearly 2 inches on average in the tea drinking group. That is a meaningful number, especially for people over 60, where the body naturally resists losing this type of fat. And to be honest with you, these are combined results, not magic from a single cup of tea doing everything on its own. You also need to be mindful about what you eat and stay lightly active, even if it is just a 20-minute walk each day. And that is everything I want you to know about Japanese knotweed tea. A tea you may be hearing about for the very first time today, but whose effect on burning belly fat is genuinely powerful. The most important thing I want you to understand is that not all fat is the same. Visceral fat hiding deep inside is the real enemy, and it needs to be approached differently. 1 small cup of tea each day is not a burden, but with time and consistency, it could be one of the best decisions you make for your health at this stage of life. You have made it through 60 years. You deserve to live with a healthier body and a lighter belly, and you absolutely can do this. If this video has been helpful to you, please share it with your family or friends, especially those who are struggling with belly fat and cannot figure out why no matter how carefully they eat. Sometimes the right information at the right moment can change a great deal. And if you find the way I explain things easy to follow, please hit that like button so this video can be recommended to more people, because that is how we help each other in this community. Subscribe so we can meet again at the next piece of advice. I post a new video every single day and always cover practical topics made just for people over 60. Now, go ahead and drop a comment down below and let me know whether you have ever heard of Japanese knotweed tea before, or if you have any questions about this topic, I would love to answer them. Thank you so much for staying all the way to the end, wishing you good health and enjoy every single day. See you next time.